Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever thought about building a custom home, you probably know it often means stress and, well, cost spinning out of control.
Yeah, it can be a real headache.
So today, we're digging into a system that claims to, you know, completely change that whole picture.
Right. We're focusing on these custom Cedar home prefab kits from a company called Cedar Designs. They pitch it as a complete building solution.
And the numbers they're throwing around are, frankly, pretty eye-popping. Worth a closer look, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We need to get past the marketing gloss.
Okay, so here's the hook for you listeners. They talk about over 500 customizable plans, but the real kicker seems to be the efficiency side. They're claiming builds are up to 25% cheaper than similar competitors for the whole package.
And faster.
Yeah.
Significantly faster, they say. Up to 33% quicker than your standard building methods.
Ah.
And crucially, they tie it all back to long-term value. Things like potentially saving up to 60% on energy costs over the life of the home.
So our job today is to unpack how they supposedly do all that. How do you get the customization, the strong structure, and these big savings all in one?
That's the million-dollar question.
Let's start with the foundation then, section 1, the architecture itself.
Yeah.
The big thing here is this post and beam construction method. They say it's superior, recognized globally. But why? What makes it better than, say, modern stick-built houses?
Well, what's really interesting is how the engineering becomes the look of the house. You see, unlike a typical build where the frame is hidden behind drywall, post and beam uses these large timbers, the actual posts and beams, as the main support structure.
Ah,
It means the structure itself is inherently stronger. It relies more on simple compression wood holding up wood rather than lots of complex metal fasteners and engineered trusses holding everything together.
so you see those beautiful exposed beams or those high cathedral ceilings? That's not just for show. That's actually the house holding itself up.
Precisely. That's what gives you that architectural drama and those big open floor plans too, because you don't need as many interior walls to bear the load.
Thanks.
And the sources we looked at really hammer this point. This specific construction choice lets them engineer for serious resilience. We're talking exceeding building codes, designing for extreme weather, even building in seismic resistance for places like, earthquake zones. It's built to last.
Okay, but hold on. Doesn't that strength, using those big timbers, slow things down? I mean, traditional stick-built homes with all their standardized trusses and parts have gotten really fast to put up. Aren't heavy timbers harder, slower to assemble on site?
That's the clever part, and it leads us right into the kit idea.
Mhm.
You get the flexibility of post and beam, which, by the way, supports a huge range of styles, everything from sleek modern designs to classic craftsman homes, but you combine it with a panelized pre-cut system.
So the factory does the complex cutting.
Exactly. You get that structural quality without all the complex, time-consuming carpentry happening out in the rain and mud on the building site.
Gotcha. So customization isn't lost. You can still pick one of their, 500 plans, a timber frame, a log home look, tweak it, or even design something totally from scratch.
Right. The structure gives you design freedom, but the factory provides the efficiency in production.
That blend sounds key.
Absolutely. And that synergy takes us right into section 2, what they call the value triangle: speed, cost, and efficiency. This is where we really need to scrutinize those big claims.
Okay, let's unpack that 33% faster build time. How does that actually work? You mentioned the panelized system.
Yeah, it's because they aren't just dumping piles of lumber on your site. They deliver a kit. Everything is precision cut, labeled, ready to go.
What's everything?
Well, the pre-cut timber frame, the wall panels, the roof system components, windows, doors, even hardware. It's all engineered and cut in a controlled factory setting.
Oh.
This cuts down massively on mistakes, reduces the amount of waste, those huge dumpsters on building sites, less of that. And critically, it minimizes the need for highly specialized, expensive labor working for weeks and weeks on site.
Right, because a lot of the skilled work happened back at the factory.
Pretty much.
So that reduced on-site time is where the speed and some of the savings come from. Instead of weeks just framing the house, the main structure goes up much quicker.
They give a typical timeline, maybe 2 to 3 months for the design and getting permits sorted, which always takes time. But then potentially just 4 to 6 months for the actual construction. That tight sequence is how they claim the time savings.
Okay, now the money part. Up to 25% less than comparable competitors.
Yeah.
What does comparable mean here? And we need to talk about that price range.
Good questions. First, comparable really has to mean comparing apples to apples. So another custom post and beam home, not just any custom home, that comparison is crucial.
And the cost range. The sources say typically $150 to $300 per square foot for the complete package. That's a huge range.
It is. And a proper deep dive means asking what pushes you towards that higher $300 number versus the $150.
Yeah, what are the variables?
It mostly comes down to two things: your specific building site and how much customization you want. The lower end, the $150, probably assumes a flat, easy to access lot, standard foundation, maybe simpler finishes.
But if your site is on a steep hill, needs tons of excavation.
Exactly. Or if you want really high-end imported tile, fancy stonework, specialized windows, maybe complex roof lines, all that customization naturally pushes the cost up.
So the range reflects reality then. It's not one size fits all.
Right. It has to account for those site-specific and choice-specific factors.
But what I find interesting is how they try to manage the financial risk within that range. They talk about a fixed price and quantity guarantee. What does that mean?
It means the price for the actual materials in your kit package is locked in once you sign. The cost of that timber frame, those windows, isn't going to suddenly jump halfway through because market prices change.
That's huge right now with material costs being so volatile.
Definitely. And they also mention a
Yeah, that nightmare of juggling architects, engineers, multiple contractors, suppliers. It's overwhelming for most people.
So they aim to be the central point, offering this sort of proven system.
But wait, how do they ensure quality control if they're shipping these kits potentially all over the world? A great kit is useless if it's put together poorly.
That's a critical point, and it depends heavily on the support structure they've built around the kit. Let's break down their process.
Okay.
Step 1 is design and planning. This involves the custom consultation, trying to get the budget transparent up front, and using 3D site-specific design. That last part is vital. You need to see how that house fits your land before they cut anything.
Makes sense. Visualize before you build.
Then step 2 is premium materials delivered. Sourcing and shipping all that: kiln-dried cedar, the windows, the doors, the hardware. They handle the logistics, even global shipping, making sure it all arrives labeled and ready.
Okay, the kit arrives, then what?
Then step 3, construction support. This is their answer to the quality control question. They offer access to what they call an expert builder network. These are supposedly trusted, vetted contractors who know post and beam construction.
So they connect you with qualified builders.
That's the idea. Plus, they provide permit-ready plans to help smooth things over with local building departments, which can be a major hurdle. And they include a detailed owner-builder manual if you're coordinating it yourself. They recognize that expert assembly is key.
That support structure does sound pretty essential. And you see that reflected in the testimonials, don't you? People focusing on the final result, the quality.
Yeah, like David and Christine D. up in Alberta. They said their house completely exceeded our expectations and mentioned extraordinary comfort. That points to both the design and the build quality.
Or Stephen A. in Michigan, who talked about the visual impact, his place being one of the most architecturally dramatic cottages on the lake. These clearly aren't just generic boxes.
No, they're custom designs. And that visual drama, again, Megan Scott S. in Hawaii mentioned the beams and the high roof pitches, making the home feel charming and magical. It comes back to that post and beam structure, delivering both strength and aesthetics.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly for section 4. Customization. We've talked about plans, but what about materials? Cedar is in the name, but is it always cedar siding? That can be high maintenance and costly.
Right, and that's a practical consideration they address. While cedar looks amazing, they offer other siding options, focusing on lower maintenance and potentially lower cost.
Like what?
Things like fiber cement siding. It's basically maintenance-free, fire-resistant, often comes with like a 50-year warranty, big pluses. They also mention options like weathered wood looks, metal siding, other composite materials.
And that choice impacts the budget.
Significantly, yeah. According to the materials, choosing fiber cement or some of these composites over premium cedar siding could potentially knock 15% to 30% off the total project costs up front.
Wow, that's substantial.
It is. And you get better long-term durability in many cases. It's that classic trade-off, the natural beauty of wood versus the practicality and longevity of modern materials.
But no matter what's on the outside, the inside design possibilities remain pretty wide open.
That seems to be the case, yeah. Again, thanks to that post and beam structure, the exposed timbers, the high ceilings, it creates very flexible layouts. You can adapt the space for different needs.
Like designing specifically for retirement living, maybe focusing purely on energy efficiency and accessibility.
or a primary home for a family that needs adaptable spaces, or even thinking about it as a vacation property, maybe with rental potential down the line. The structure allows for that flexibility across different life stages and financial goals.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big picture takeaway from this deep dive?
Well, it looks like this model, this Cedar Designs approach, is really throwing down the gauntlet to traditional construction methods, especially at the high-cost custom end. It's trying to bring industrial precision to a very bespoke process.
Right. They're starting with that strong, visually appealing post and beam method, but then they're using this engineered panelized kit system to streamline everything.
And the goal, it seems, is to deliver these high-performance homes, strong structure, very energy-efficient, custom design, but do it faster and with more predictable costs than the old way.
It's definitely a compelling package on paper.
Which leads me to a final thought for you, the listener, to sort of chew on. Given the success we're seeing here and in other areas of pre-engineered construction in achieving these pretty dramatic time and cost savings, 33% faster, maybe 25% cheaper, while seemingly maintaining high quality,
Yeah.
what parts of the traditional site-built stick frame construction process, what parts might we now start to see as, well, fundamentally inefficient, maybe even bordering on obsolete for certain types of projects?
That's a provocative question. It really makes you rethink the risks, the labor, the waste involved in conventional building. Food for thought. So if you're intrigued by this and want to see how it might apply to you, the next step would be exploring it further. Maybe requesting a consultation or getting a specific quote for your own situation, your own piece of land. See how this system could work for you. Go put this knowledge to work.